You owe me an apology.
What? Why?
Because on Tuesday, I sent you a text that said, it's Robbie Ray Win Day. And you didn't believe.
Look, in all fairness, I didn't see your message at first until after Robbie Ray had given up 3 runs. And we had just come off the whole it's okay to admit the Giants are good thing when you got me to agree that the Giants were good, and then they got swept by the Twins. And I saw the message then, and I wanted to know when you sent the message. That's all I asked. I said, Matthew, when did you send this message?
Yeah, and then you swiped over and you saw the timestamp, and then you went,
that's right.
6:45. God damn it. That's I quote, God damn it.
That's
like it was my fault. Like that they had scored 3 runs off of Robbie Ray.
Well, I really felt like it was your fault. I really did, because look, if the pitchers don't give up 0 runs, like the way this team was playing, then they were going to lose. And you were doing that thing where you were
in the Robbie Ray magic. Fate. Kismet.
Okay. You're right. I didn't believe. In all fairness, that's my role on the show, Matthew. That's
your role in life, man. We weren't even doing the show. It was a text between you and me. Here I am. I see it's Robbie Ray on the hill, and I'm like, woohoo, Robbie Ray Win Day.
Yeah. I'm not really this pessimistic about everything. It's just the Giants.
Well, being a lifetime Giants fan could do that to you. I get it.
That is true. Remember, I grew up in the 80s, Matthew, the early 80s. You grew up in you remember the 70s. I don't even know how it was. Yeah. It
was rough. It was rough. But nonetheless, you owe me an apology.
I hereby apologize. I'm sorry for doubting the magic of Robbie Ray and whatever dark magic that he learned from Tarek Skubal.
Okay, apology accepted.
I believe that he learned how to do some hexes, and I think he hexed Justin Verlander. That's what I think. I think he stole Justin Verlander's mojo.
Oh, okay. This is going way different than I thought it was going to go, but you did apologize, right?
I did apologize. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to you for doubting Robbie Ray, and I'm also sorry to Mr. Ray. Please don't hex me.
Okay, whatever. Bob. Hey.
Welcome to Giant Cocktails, where the baseball is mid, but the cocktails are elite. Here are your hosts, Ben and Matthew Henry.
Welcome to another episode of Giant Cocktails, where apparently there are hexes and stuff. But, Ben, this is episode 292. Did you know that Freddie Sanchez hit 292 for the Giants in 2010 as their regular second baseman on the way to their first World Series championship in San Francisco?
Yes. I did.
I didn't know that. It was I know he played an integral part. I didn't know he hit 292. I shouldn't have been surprised, though, because Sanchez actually won a batting title for the Pirates in 2006 when he hit 344.
You know what's interesting about I didn't know that, Matthew. I do remember Freddie. I do remember how nice it was to have a good second baseman, because it had been since Jeff Kent, right?
Right.
And I do remember that. But you know what's really interesting about that 2010 team? They're the first team to win the World Series in San Francisco. And there's so many things about that team that when I look back on it, I'm like, I forgot. Right? Edgar Renteria was the World Series MVP. I don't ever forget that, but it still seems like Edgar Renteria played for the Giants.
He's not a forever Giant, right? Maybe that wasn't that a Cardinal jersey I could have worn.
I probably, it probably could have been. I mean, I think he has to be a forever Giant because he was the World Series MVP in their first World Series win.
But he's not. I agree, but I don't think he's mentioned that echelon among Giants fans.
That's true. Like we don't ever talk about him. We certainly don't remember him the way we remember Brian Wilson. I mean, right. Nobody's remembered the
Freddie
way
Sanchez doesn't get the love.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. You know, like I think Pat the Bat gets a little, you know, because he showed up late and then, you know, it's just interesting, especially on the offensive side of that team. There's just a lot of those guys that you just forget that they were on that team. Like, but even though you go back and you look at the stats and you look at the role that the jobs that they played and you're like, wow, these guys were really integral to this win. I should probably respect them more. So thank you, Freddie. Thank you, Freddie Sanchez, and your .292 batting average, which seems like impossible these days. Except for Jung-Hoo.
Enough with the banter. Let's talk cocktails.
Yes, Bob, let's talk cocktails.
What are you drinking, Matthew?
Well, thanks, Bob. I'm drinking a cocktail that I'm calling Orange Melon. I'm not proud of the name. You know, it's naming a cocktail is the hardest part about creating a cocktail in my opinion, and I don't know. I couldn't think of anything more inspiring. But I'm drinking an Orange Melon, and I'll tell you all about it at the end of the episode.
What are you drinking, Ben?
Well, thank you for asking, Bob. That's very kind of you. That name does suck, Matthew. My cocktail, Bob, is called A Glass Full of Cherries.
This might be the record for the most boring, weird names on our episode.
Yeah. Well, wait till you hear the recipe.
At the end of the episode.
You really need 2 glasses for this recipe. One to spit the pits in.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it. We'll give you the recipe at the end of the episodes. All right, Ben. Today is Wednesday, May 13th, as we record this podcast. Alas, the Giants were 1-2 since our last recording, but they're 25-19 on the season. Still good enough for third place in the NL West and still firmly in the third wild card spot. So I don't know. Part of me wants to be really upset, and part of me is just thankful that we're kind of treading water, because I did look. The Giants and the Dodgers have the exact same record over the last 10 games. So it doesn't seem like things are really running away from us at this point. But what are we going to talk about today? Oh, are you going to talk? I don't know. Like, I'm used to you just jumping in, and then you didn't say anything. So I was like,
I was preoccupied with our timers. I was really trying to make sure that I was operating the timers correctly, because that has been something that I have not been doing. And this is like behind the curtains. Like, our listeners don't know about this stuff, but we've instituted timers this year, which has made a world of difference.
This is why we're able to stay in that 45 to 50 minute time zones, because we got a timer now, folks.
That's right. But not once has Ben been able to do it correctly. Not once. And so I'm really trying today. And so that's right. That's why I'm not talking. That's not why I'm not talking. Because you said they were the division's not running away from the Giants. It doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel like it.
It doesn't. But they're not running away from the Giants. What are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk about the takeaways from the D-Bag series. You know, maybe not game for game, but we're going to talk about it, some takeaways. And then this might be a good time to kind of bring us back to, I think 2 episodes ago, they were all good and we should just accept that. And then last episode, you were all like, Matthew, they're not all that good and the year to blame. And so now I think we should have that discussion. Are they good or are they bad?
Yes.
Exactly. But first, a few tidbits. Elliot Ramos, Ben.
Yes.
Some people I saw on social media were talking about how, it's good that Elliot Ramos is finally heating up, and so I was like,
finally?
Seems like he's been heating up for a while now. I went and looked. Over the last 2 weeks, he's had one in the top 10 in batting average in the major leagues. Over the last 4 weeks, he's top 20 in batting average in the majors. I think it's time to say that Elliot Ramos is a good player here to stay.
And let's not also forget that most of the Giants' wins, remember, like they started off, I think they were 8-1, 7 games over 500, right, in their first 8 games. And what are they now? They're 6 games over 500. So they've lost one of those games since then. Let's not forget that a bulk of that offense was from Elliot Ramos during that time. He came out of the gates really hot, and then he cooled off, and now he's hot again. You want to know why, Matthew?
Why?
Because he's a baseball player. And that's what happens. In this social media world, everybody is ready to DFA everyone after they have 2 bad games in a row. And it's like, I don't even know you could call them bad games. They're just normal games. 2 games where you're 0 for 4, back to back, that happens to everyone always, all the time. So no, I mean, Elliot Ramos is I think everything that we hoped he would be. Is he that every single day? No. But nobody is. So, yes, no. I am pro Elliot, for sure.
Well, yeah, and for me, it's exciting to see a guy that we saw grow up in the system. That there was a lot of talk about him being a top prospect, and then he struggled a little bit at first. But it's really cool to see a guy finally coming into his own, and not only is he hitting well, but he's got some great diving catches over the last few games. It's been fun to see him play defense. And I know maybe the metrics haven't said he's a great defender, but he's pretty good out there, I think. And so to me, it's been fun seeing Elliot Ramos, the complete baseball player. And I think that he's definitely going to break the curse of Barry Bonds and start in left field for years to come. Yeah,
I agree. Well, he's got a great finish to his plays. He agrees that he has a bad start, and he's been working on that. Right? Like he goes the wrong direction when the ball is hit off the bat, right? He goes the wrong direction, and he's working on that. He also is not the best at getting up to full speed, so I think the combination of those 2 things makes him not a great defender metrically wise.
And maybe that leads to the dives, right? Because you're not necessarily...
I mean, some of the... Yeah, for sure. They look so good at the end because they're not starting out so good. But whatever. He's definitely improving there, too.
All right. Well, there's been lots of changes going on. The other thing I think we should talk about is the lineup changes. First, for the first time, we've seen pretty much the same lineup for the first 2 months. And then all of a sudden we started to say, what? Jung-Hoo Lee hitting cleanup? Willy Adames hitting 6th? Just all of a sudden we're seeing this big switcheroo, which maybe was warranted at this point.
Yeah, well, the cynic in me wants to say it's about time our 6th best hitter was hitting in the 6 hole. I mean, he might be the all-time highest paid Giant ever, but he's hitting like the 6th best Giant on the 2025 Giants, and that's not saying much. That's what the cynic in me wants to say. The meddler and video game player in me wants to say, how could Bob Melvin go this long without meddling with the lineup? I would definitely be Gabe Kaplering things. But not with any sort of rhyme or reason. I'd just be like, let's see what happens if we do it in alphabetical order. What if we group them by astrological sign? So I would meddle with there'd be a different lineup every day.
Yeah. One time when I was managing my kids' Little League team, I did a lineup based on batting average. And just the best batting average batted first, and I just went down and the line, and we actually had a pretty good game that day.
Oh, so you put your best hitter first and your second best hitter second?
Yes.
I think that's probably the Little League way to do it, Matthew. Yeah,
yeah. I was overthinking things before that day, but it worked out real well.
Or you're just supposed to let them all play and not care about the results, you monster.
I tried to do that until the parents started emailing me and calling me and asking me why their kid wasn't playing. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm way beyond those years, and I don't have to worry about that anymore. Speaking of Adames and our 6th best hitter, Ben, he got rid of his leg kick and all of a sudden started hitting again.
Well, that's what worked for me, Matthew.
Right. Yeah, that leg kick throws off your timing. Maybe it adjusts your eyes now bounce up and down with the leg kick, and you can't track the ball very well.
Right, and I'm not trying to load up everything and all of that. I just use it as a little timing device. I don't know what I just said. ChatGPT told me to say that. I don't know how to hit a baseball. I don't know. But
and I think there are a lot of ways to hit a baseball, but whatever he did to change seemed to work. So we'll take it.
There are a lot of ways to hit a baseball. I mean, even still, like the differences in batting stances just blows my mind. It just blows my mind. It's like nobody has there's no one answer to this. But I'm glad that Adames seems to have found the answer for him, at least for now.
Yeah. Lamont Wade Jr., Ben, worked with the greatest hitter of all time this week.
Ben Henry?
Barry Bonds.
Oh, right. Yes, that makes more sense because I just said that I don't know how to hit. But
I think if you have access to the best hitter of all time to give you a few pointers, you should probably take it.
It's amazing to me. Like Tyler Fitzgerald also credited Barry earlier in this season, and I don't. This is not the first time this has happened, right? Like I know Barry's there a lot. Like, I know he's available, but maybe there should be more of this. But, maybe he works better when it's like a one-on-one deal, right? Like, maybe he's better on that sort of like deep focused sort of conversation thing. But like, I agree. When you have the best who ever did it there available to you, you should probably take advantage of that.
And hopefully, we saw a little bit of turnaround, I think, with Lamont Wade Jr. He also got some rest. So maybe we'll see something turn around because, boy, we really need it. All right, switching gears to the D-Bag series, Ben. Verlander got Verlandered again. He got Verlandered again.
And I don't know why you're so, like, I don't know what other reason there could possibly be than that Robbie Ray has hexed him.
I just pictured this conversation of them sitting on the bench and Robbie Ray turned to Verlander and goes, I don't know why do you think it's so hard to get a win? That's how I picture it because Robbie Ray, he doesn't matter how he throws. They're going to win.
I picture him as him doing that. He's sucking out the life force of Justin Verlander and pulling it into himself. Mm-hmm. And Justin's like, I feel weird. I feel tired every time I sit next to Robbie. I don't know what's going on. Like, The only
way I'll buy into that is if all of a sudden he's dating Kate Upton. If Robbie Ray all of a sudden,
I think that would be the last sign. I think that would be the last sign. I don't know. I think the Christian Koss Grand Slam was all the sign you need that this is happening. So, but yes, Verlander got Verlandered. And he also got Corbin Carrolled. Is really what happened.
That guy's a good baseball player.
God, he's really good. It's so weird. It is so weird what happened to that guy last year, how 2/3 of the season he had the sophomore slump of all sophomore slumps.
Yeah.
It was like, I've heard people say the sophomore slump is not real. Tell that to Corbin Carroll. But then he just turned back into Corbin Carroll and has not stopped. Like, I am so jealous of them having this guy.
Speaking of this guy.
Yeah.
They may have Corbin Carroll, but we got Christian Koss.
That's right. Excuse me while I Koss this guy. Yeah. Exactly.
Which is what you sent me after Koss hit the go-ahead Grand Slam. Nice little reference to Jimi Hendrix and a messed up musical lyric.
A misheard lyric. Yeah. Excuse me while I kiss the sky, not kiss this guy, but Kossing a guy sounds good. What happened to that guy? What happened to that pitcher? He got Kossed.
He got Kossed.
Yeah. Who was pitching that night?
Fat.
Oh, fat. Yes, that's right.
I don't know how to say his name.
That's right.
Yeah, that guy.
I'm pretty sure they say Fat.
Oh, okay.
It's just Fat.
In kindergarten, he was fat though.
Yeah,
right?
But
third grade, they're like, "Hey, fatty." Hey,
yeah.
Fat.
Well, that's how it was. That's how they heard it. But then when they saw it spelled, they were just all over the place.
Like I just did, yeah, because I'm like 3.
Yeah. Whenever I see his name, like it's the same way that whenever I see D-backs, I can't say D-back or Diamondback. Like they're the D-bags. Like
D-bags, absolutely.
And it's so bad because when I talk about them in the real world, off the show, I really have to contain myself to not call them the D-bags. Except to my kids and my wife. They all know who the D-bags are.
I make it a rule not to talk about the D-bags in public.
Right, right. And it's the same way with that guy's name. Whenever I see his name, I can't not go, fat.
Well, Christian Koss became the, 17th San Francisco Giant or something like that to hit a grand slam.
Overall, yeah.
Giant overall to hit a grand slam as his first home run. And the last guy was somebody that you've never heard of.
It wasn't Brandon Crawford?
It was Ford Proctor.
It was Ford Proctor. I do. I've heard of Ford Proctor. I do know
remember he was a Farhan guy, right? Wasn't he?
Yeah. You know what? I was at one of the games where that happened. I was at a game when Dallimore did it, I believe. I may be misremembering my Grand Slams. I should go make sure that was a home game. But when Dallimore did it, I believe I was at that game. Yeah. I mean...
Well,
first of all,
I know you have a hard time talking about Christian Koss in a positive light.
I do. I think just
episodes ago you were calling him like a quadruple A player,
yes.
and wondering why he was on the team, and because
I didn't wonder why he was on the team.
No, you were saying that our depth was so poor that was like why that was why he was on the team.
Yes, I did say that the depth at the middle infield was a foreseeable problem and that Buster should have done something about it. That's what I said. And then thinking about that,
Apparently he did.
Yes.
Cost this guy. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I admit it. I was wrong. I admit it. Maybe Buster's out there talking to his tattoo artist and saying, like, I want it to say Fire Ben. I want it, and then on the back of my neck, I want it to say Justice for Bob, or why isn't Bob starting? Right? Can you do that? Well, first of all, I was thinking about that more, about the whole middle infield thing, and I realized that really is mostly about first base, right? Because Casey Schmidt was probably the number one answer in the middle infield. And if everything was well, if Gerard had not injured himself, he would have been the DH outfielder guy. And then I think Schmidt would have been the middle infielder. He would have probably been the top choice for the middle infield.
Yeah, I agree.
But Gerard did get hurt. And so then Schmidt ended up being the first base guy, DH guy. And Koss was the middle infielder. And you're right. I was totally wrong about this guy. But I wasn't wrong about him when the season started. Right? He didn't get off to a clean start, both offensively and defensively. He looked like a quadruple A player out there. And I think maybe I'm being generous with that. But I think what everybody saw in him was a lot of hard work, a lot of determination, a lot of talent, and also a lot of just baseball knowledge. And I think that was ready for the major leagues, but it all needed to sort of settle in. And now that he's in his second month, you could kind of sense it, right? I think Kaspic talked about him a couple days ago. I started reading things about him. His name started popping up in more people's articles. The balls that he was hitting into play were coming out with stronger exit velocities. Like he was settling in, and now the results are showing, and he's doing really well with runners in scoring position, which does not hurt, right? He hasn't had a ton of at bats, but when he's had them, he's done really well. And so, what's nice to see is that, like, this, folks, is what a quality bench player looks like. That's what a great bench middle infielder looks like. He's either sublime at defense at three different positions, or he can do good defense and good hitting. Is he as good as your starters? No. But is he better than Brett Wisely? Yeah.
Certainly it looks that way. And I think what I really like about him is that you see the interviews, like the interview he did after his home run, and he's just got this big grin on his face. He's just loving being a Major League Baseball player. And I, as a fan, like, I don't have I wasn't looking at all the stats while I was watching him in that game, but when he came up with the bases loaded, I truly felt like he was going to do something. I didn't think he was getting a home run, but I was confident that he was going to produce there. And I think that's because he's shown that over the last few weeks or months, where he's just been all of a sudden has been this guy that just looks really confident at the plate, and he's delivering in these clutch moments. And so I think his teammates are buying into that too. And it seems like Melvin is, because Melvin's trusting him more in high leverage situations. And so the kid is doing great. And I really like the guy. He's got young kids. He's like the typical scrappy guy that worked his way up through the minors and is now made his dream come true. And I hope he stays around. I know somebody had asked him if he was leasing, or buying, and he said he was staying in a hotel.
Yeah, no, whether or not he didn't want to sign a lease.
Yeah, because he didn't know, and I love that about it. He knows that he's just one call away from going back to the minors, and so he's just reveling.
I think he could sign a lease. I think he could sign a 6-month lease at this point. I think he could, and he would be safe. I think what he is he's a smart and talented baseball player who's been playing baseball for he's 27 years old. Right. So he's been doing this for 20 years.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's just all coming together and showing. Right. And I think the faith that what everybody saw in him, and these are really smart baseball people, what saw in him is now showing itself on the field, and it just becomes this positive thing. There was a very notable play during the series, Matthew, that involved Christian Koss that I do want to talk about.
Yes, no, I think we should talk about it. Absolutely.
It happened today as we record this podcast in the 8th inning. He got a walk with 2 outs, and then Elliot Ramos hit an infield grounder. It was a sharply hit ball down the left field line that the third baseman got way deep and in foul territory. Right. And so he made a throw across the diamond that Ramos beat out because because obviously, this was a hit all the way with somebody with Ramos's speed. Koss was running aggressively, and he rounded second base, and the stupid rookie who has less time, I think more time in the majors, at least he was in the majors last year, but I think has played less games than even Christian Koss, was running to second to take the throw from the third baseman, but once he realized the throw wasn't going to him, he kind of just checked out of the play and just kind of forgot what he was doing. This was not intentional at all. I heard some suggestions that maybe it was intentional. It didn't look intentional to me. It looked like a guy who turned his brain off. And that rookie turned his brain off, so our rookie ran smack right into him. Just slammed into him to the point where he was dazed. He had a fat lip that you could see on TV, and that I was listening on the radio, and Rizzo just called it out immediately. Oh, you could see it. Or maybe it was Santangelo. I don't remember. But they were you could see his lip swelling. But that's not the funniest part about this. I mean, the rules are very clear. This was obstruction. Okay? And the rules basically say that if a fielder impedes the movement of a base runner, and that
without the ball,
is not making a play on the ball, and does not have the ball, then that's obstruction. And he doesn't even have to touch the guy, right? He could just get in his way and make the runner run around him. In this case, that didn't happen. And it's very clear. The rules say let the play continue and play itself out, which the umps did. Then decide where the base runners go, which they did. And I will admit the second base umpire didn't seem like he was going to call obstruction, but I think the third base umpire or the home plate umpire definitely saw this as obstruction. Anyway, they got together. They had kind of a long powwow. It was a very animated powwow, too. These umps were really talking to each other. But they ended up putting Koss at second and Ramos at first, because what had happened was that Koss had fallen to the ground because he was so hurt on the play that he couldn't get back to second, and they tagged him out. And so that would have ended the inning. Instead, they were no, that was obstruction. You go back to second. You go back to first. And it was kind of textbook. But Terry,
they could have. The umps could have told Koss to go to third too, though. They
could have. It's their discretion. And I think what they decided was he was just aggressively rounding the base, and he was not. He was not going to make it to third. He probably would have gone back to second. That's their determination, and that's their call, and that's their prerogative, and they can make that call. Matt Williams disagreed.
I agree with Matt Williams.
I agree with Matt Williams too. Like if Matt Williams said he would have made it to third, then he would have made it to third. Well,
especially when you make that aggressive turn and you see the guy make the throw across to first, and he's like 20 feet from third base.
I think Koss would have kept going. I do. I think you're right. I think Koss would have kept going, and he probably would have made it. But that's not what the umps thought. But the point is, the umps played this by the rule book from start to finish. But out comes Terry Lovolio. Terry Dumbass, let's call him. And he argues. And this just goes to show how much the coaches and the managers and the players, they don't know the rules of baseball. They don't know them at all. He argues for an extensive period of time about something that was cut and dry. It was so cut and dry, Matthew. I watched this on the D-Bags TV replay. And Bob Brenly and whatever the guy's name is, who is their play-by-play guy, they were like, oh, that's obstruction. That's clearly obstruction. They called it way better than Kruk and Kipe even did. Poor Kruko kept calling it interference, and that's when the fielder is interfered with. Fielders are interfered with. Base runners are obstructed. Anyway, Brenly and his partner got it right, but Lovulo was like, nope. And then so they got tired of him arguing, and they threw him out of the game. But then he was like, no.
This is the best part.
And he pointed at every umpire, and then he threw them out of the game. And what I loved about this was after the game, he said, I just felt like they were trying to cover their asses. And I'm like, covering their asses for what? Like they literally called that by the rule book. They did everything the way they're supposed to. If the obstruction occurs away from the play, you let it play out. They did it by the rule book. I don't know what they would have been covering up. They're not the guy who just decided to stop playing baseball and got in somebody else's way while he was running 15 miles an hour. Talk to your second baseman, dude. But then he's like, no, they're really good at their job. The umpires are really good. I stand corrected. I was like, dude, this is not a hard rule to figure out. Anyway, it was kind of ridiculous. But he threw all the umpires out of the game, Matthew. So technically, I believe that game should have been played with no umpires.
Oh, that might have been an improvement.
I will say I didn't like some of the strike zones of some of these guys.
All right. Well, I think that's all we need to talk about on this D-Bag series. But the bigger question, Ben, and we've been grappling with this, is are the Giants good or are they bad?
Yes.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew that was going to be the answer.
Well, I kind of gave my sneak preview earlier in the show, Matthew, but do you disagree? Oh, of course you disagree.
Well, no, I don't know if I disagree. I think I want to disagree. I want them to be good. And the thing is, when they're playing well, they're good.
Yes.
They're like scoring runs. They're like preventing runs. They're like, pitching like lights out. It's fun to watch. It is so good. But when they don't play well, Ben, they're bad. They're like, oh, we're going to let a journeyman pitcher, pitch a perfect game against us. Bad. I mean, they're just like, they just don't show up for like days on end. And that's bad.
Well, and it's remarkable to me, Matthew, is it's like, it's not just you and I that feel that way. It was all of Giants Nation, I think, that feels that way. Right? Like after that series against the Twins, and then they lose that first game against the D-Bags where Carroll hits the 2 home runs and they do nothing against Merrill Kelly. And like Merrill Kelly is a sore spot for this team and I think for this fandom. Right? Because like you hear a guy, his name is Merrill Kelly. You should own this guy. Like, Matthew, if you and I got some hacks against Merrill Kelly, we would take him deep every time we faced him. Right? Like, that's what it feels like.
Yes.
Right?
His name is Merrill Kelly.
His name is Merrill Kelly. Like, you should own this guy. And it's the exact opposite. And then the Giants go and they just look anemic. And then here's their star young player just doing his thing, and you're getting Verlandered, and it just feels inevitable that the Giants are going to lose. And you're like, oh, nah, the D-bags are going to sweep them. But it wasn't just you and I that felt that way. I think it was also the writers and a bunch of the pundits on TV and our other podcast equals.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not equals. We're better than all of them. But, and so I think it's just kind of like that's the vibes you get. When they're good, they feel unbeatable. But there's also this thing in the back of our minds, like we don't understand why they're good. But here's the thing, Matthew. I think the thing with the Giants is they have a bunch of above average hitters. And that's what they are. They're above average. And we have a few guys who are better than that. But like recently, they have just been above average. Like Adames has been below average all season. And Jung Hoo has like descended to average recently while he was in this quote unquote slump. I love how his slump is like Lamont Wade would love to have his slump, Yeah. But like when those guys like are not hitting like world beaters and everybody else is not hitting at all, then which can happen when you have just a bunch of above average players, right? When you have just a bunch of above average players, sometimes none of them hit. And it feels really bad. And I think that's kind of what this team is. It's a bunch of guys who are above average. And sometimes that means nobody hits, except Elliot Ramos.
Well, as you say that, it makes me really, really thankful that early season wins count as much as late season wins.
That's right.
And it doesn't matter how you get to 90 wins or whatever to get into the playoffs. It's just win them whenever you can. And I know we had joked around when they got off to the good start that they could play 500 ball for the rest of the season and they'd have a chance to make the playoffs. I didn't think they were going to do that seriously, though. I mean, since April 22nd, Ben, they're 10-10.
Yeah, you didn't think that, but I did.
Yeah, well, I guess I was hoping that they wouldn't, but
that's not true. I thought they were a little bit better.
Well, even if they for me, I'm like one game more a month than they lose, right? And that gets you another 5 wins after that first month's great start. Right now, I don't even know if they're playing that well. How many wins would you say they're just off the top of your head? What do you feel like they're on pace for?
84.
Sucks.
Well, no, that's what I feel. That's what it feels like they're on pace for.
It could be. You could be right. I'm not doing the math, but I predicted 89.
Well, I predicted 84, Matthew, and I stand by my prediction.
Well, that means they would have to be significantly below average on the way back, and I feel like there's room for growth here. I feel like I think getting more than 89 wins is looking more and more unlikely, but I'm feeling pretty good about my prediction of 89 wins.
Well, so you asked me, how do I feel like what they're doing right now? And I would say that I feel like they're on a pace to win 84 games. I think this team is better than that. I don't think they're a 90-win team, but I don't think they're an 84-win team.
So you agree with me, 89 wins?
No, I was thinking more like
89 wins.
86, 87, maybe. That's what it feels like to me. But here's the thing. It doesn't have to be that. It could be 89. Because they just need to go on another 8-1 run like they started the season with. And they can do that, especially with this pitching staff. It's within the realm of possibility. And if they do that, then they do that and they're that good. Right? This team can be that good. Like if you told me if we ran this as a simulation 1,000, 1,000,000 times, I'd be like, they're an 86, 87 win team. But if you ran a bunch of those simulations, they're going to win 89, 90 wins.
Yeah.
And those are legitimate. Like, this team can do it. And so I believe that they have that in them. I think what's interesting is that when they're bad, we all get super down on them. But the offense, when it comes alive like it has for the last 2 games, like, they outscored, Matthew, the D-bags in this series, 18-16. And they were only out-hit by the D-bags by 1 hit. The D-bags are one of the best hitting teams in baseball. And the Giants just outscored them by 2 and were out-hit only by 1. And so, like, this team, when they're clicking, can go on runs. And I think there are some of those runs still in them. And if they just, like, put enough of those together to just be outside of the realm of statistical normalcy, but still be within the realm of likelihood, then they could be an 89-90 win team. And I want that for them. I still think they're an 86 win team, though.
Of course you do. All right. Well, I think before we wrap this up, I think there's one thing that's going to be interesting that could push the Giants in a positive direction, and that is their 3 guys that are on the IL are all playing rehab games right now. So Tyler Fitzgerald, who was playing really well when he went down with his broken rib, Casey Schmidt, and then maybe most anticipated is Gerard Encarnacion, all coming back. To provide maybe a little bit of thump from the first base position, this team could be better. It could be. It'll be interesting to see when all come back where Christian Koss ends up, because we just talked about him being so great, but there might be a little roster crunch. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Matthew, you know what happens when you talk about the roster crunch.
Yeah, I know. Somebody gets hurt and it's not a problem anymore.
That's right. You always, folks, he does this. He puts it into his show notes every week and he writes down roster crunch, and it never happens. It never happens because somebody else always gets hurt.
All right. Well, in a couple of weeks, we'll check in to see who that person is, because someone's getting hurt. Someone's
getting hurt, or there is going to be a roster crunch.
Sleep wrong. Someone's going to sleep wrong. Someone's going to they'll wake up with a stiff neck.
I think it would be Casey Schmidt is the odd man out, honestly. Between Encarnacion, Wade, and Koss. I just think the way this team seems to be deciding how to manage this roster, they want to reward the grinders, so that's Koss. They want to reward the guys who they believed in and told them that you were the guy. That's Encarnacion, and that's Wade. I think Schmidt is the odd man out in this regime.
Okay. I could see that, especially, and then Wisely being the other one, right?
Wisely's definitely. Yeah. So first of all, I agree with Pavlovich or whatever. Wisely was a Farhan guy.
Yeah.
And and he's over. He's over. And I don't mean his name is Ofer. He has not gotten a hit, is what I mean.
Yeah, which doesn't really give you a lot of leverage to try and stay up with the club.
No.
All right, Ben. Well, coming up next is the Athletics.
Just the Athletics.
Just the Athletics.
That reminds me, Matthew, I've made a series of mistakes on this show that I keep forgetting to correct. I made weeks ago, I referred to them as the Oakland Athletics. And when I heard myself say that back, I felt really bad about it.
I can relate though. I almost said those words just now. I caught myself as the word Oakland was about to come out of my mouth, and I just swallowed it and said Athletics.
Yeah,
because they're not the Sacramento Athletics. They're not the California Athletics.
I think we should call them the Vagabonds.
Okay,
we're not calling them the Athletics anymore. They're the Vagabonds.
All right. Well, the Giants are playing the Vagabonds, who are 22-20.
Sweet.
They're a winning team.
Sweet.
But we'll see how we do. They're 22-20 and they're fourth in the wild card race so far.
Okay.
In the American League West.
Okay. Well, they put the beat down on the Dodgers the other day. They absolutely annihilated them. And did you know that Jack Wilson's son is on that team?
And playing lights out.
Oh yeah, no, he hit. I think he hit 2 home runs against the Dodgers in his first game or something.
And he's a rookie, so he's on pace for be Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad he beat the Dodgers, but let's put one in his ear or something. No,
not that. We don't do that.
No, we don't do that.
Not on purpose, anyway.
Isn't it time for the booze, boys?
Yes, Bob, it is time for the booze.
What are you drinking, Matthew?
Well, I'm drinking this Orange Melon, Bob. I don't really know what to call it. But anyway, what's in an Orange Melon? It's got 2 ounces of London dry gin, 3/4 ounces of lime juice, a 1/2 ounce of Orgeat Syrup, a 1/4 ounce of Elderflower Liqueur, and 4 to 5 1-inch chunks of cantaloupe. You're going to take the cantaloupe and put it in a shaker, and you're going to muddle it until it's just unrecognizable mush, okay, until it's completely pulverized. Then you're going to add the remaining ingredients along with some ice. You're going to shake it for 10 to 12 seconds until well chilled, and you're definitely going to double strain this. You have to double strain it or you will get all sorts of cantaloupe crap in your drink, and that's just funky. So double strain it into a double rocks glass with fresh ice. And you're going to garnish it with a fresh cantaloupe chunk. And you've got a light, refreshing summer drink using fresh fruit. That's what spring and summer's all about. Starting to get into some fresh fruit type cocktails. So that's what I'm drinking, Bob. The Orange Melon.
That's a tasty cocktail.
It's actually pretty good. I actually really like it.
What are you drinking, Ben?
Well, thank you for asking, Bob. That's very kind of you. Bob, I hate cantaloupe. I also hate muskmelon. Any orange melon is nasty. Also, Bob, whenever Matthew and I choose a cocktail where we both use the same primary spirit, it always throws me off, even though there's only like 7 of them. And so there's like a 14% chance that we do it. But anyway, Bob, so what I'm drinking today, Bob, is a glass full of cherries. And no, it's not a glass full of cherries. In fact, only 1 cherry was harmed during the making of this cocktail. Well, that's not true. They must harm a lot to make the cherry hearing. I don't know. A lot of cherries died to make this cocktail, Bob. I don't feel guilty about it. So what's in it? Well, it has 2 ounces of gin, 1 ounce of lemon juice, 1 ounce of simple syrup, and 1/2 ounce of cherry hearing liqueur. I meant to take out 1/2 ounce of the simple syrup, but I didn't do that when I made mine, and so mine was a little extra sweet, and I loved it. So if you make it this way and you like them sweet, make it this way. If you don't like them that sweet, then I would say cut back on the simple syrup. And then to all of that, you add 2 dashes of Peychaud's bitters. This is very similar to a cocktail known as the Fitzgerald, which is one of my all-time favorites. I have like 700 all-time favorites. This is one of them. To make it, you put all of those in a shaker with ice. You shake it until well chilled, and then you double strain that into a coupe glass, and you garnish it with a lemon cherry sail. That means you take your brandied cherry, you put it on a lemon wheel, you fold the lemon wheel like a taco around your cherry filling, and you put a cocktail pick through one side and out the other to hold them together, and you drop that into your glass. And that is how you make a glass full of cherries.
That's a tasty cocktail.
I loved it so much, I finished it long ago. Now I'm just drinking water.
Sad. Sad when you get to the end and you just have water left.
It is sad. Very sad. And that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us. We will be back on Monday after the Giants have probably just eked out a 2-1 series victory over the stupid Vagabonds. And they didn't contain Jacob Wilson or whatever the heck his name is. But anyway, if you can't wait that long to get your fix, feel free to reach out to us on the social medias. You can find us, and by us I mean Matthew, everywhere where we go by the name Giant Cocktails. If there are no Giant Cocktails at that spot, we don't go there. And then you probably shouldn't either. Don't forget, you can also listen to us on YouTube, so run over there to like, subscribe, and comment. But most importantly, be sure to leave us a positive review, and it's only positive if it's 5 stars, folks, at your podcasting platform of choice, aka Apple Podcasts or Mediocreify. Matthew, you were very congenial today. Keep up the good work. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, Ben. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Giant Cocktails Podcast. Until next time, bottoms up.
But I forgive you, just like I forgive you for doing nothing wrong when you told me that it was Robbie Ray win day.
He's not going to lose all year. It's going to be just keep on going.
No, he's not. He's not. And then he will win the Cy Young Award. What if he went 20-0?
That'd be cool.
That would be cool. Let's do that. What if he went 30? I don't think that's even possible.
No, not in today's game. Well, I guess you have to win. You can make 32 starts, right? 30 starts a year.
Yeah, I mean, they do. Like, if he was healthy all year, he would make 30-plus starts.
But he hasn't won every start.
No, he hasn't.
The Giants have won.
No,
the
he
Giants
hasn't.
have
What is
won
his record right
starts.
now?
He's 6-0?
Oh, that's not good enough, Robbie Ray. Well, 6 times 4 is 20. No, it's not even close to good enough.
Here we are.
God, he sucks. He's not going to get 30 wins.
I did say at the beginning, though, that Robbie Ray and Logan Webb were going to go first and third in the Cy Young.
You said that
Award
Robbie Ray was a
thing.
dark horse Cy Young candidate, and then he was, and then for like 3 games he was not. And we haven't talked about it since then. And I think that means we should continue to not talk about it.
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, he sucks.
Sucks.
The only reason he's good is because of the hex that Tarek Screwball told him. Screwball.